Kids World is a pretty entertaining film. As long as you don't take it too seriously, it's definitely one to have some fun with. That's not to say there aren't some important messages in here, because there definitely are, but it's also a really fun film. This was released in 2001. It's directed by Dale G. Bradley and written by Michael Lach, and we have a cast including Christopher Lloyd, Blake Foster, Anton Tennet, Olivia Tennet, Anna Wilson, Michael Purvis, and Todd Emerson. And Ryan is a preteen who is sick of being grounded. He is sick of his teenage brother tormenting him. And one day while he's out with his friends, he finds this magical light. And it's a magical wishing glass, as they call it. And he makes a wish on this wishing glass that all of the adults and teenagers would disappear, because they're the people who are causing problems for him. And his wish is granted. All of the adults and teenagers have vanished. And initially, this is tremendous fun. One of my favourite scenes or montages is when they're at the mall. To be honest, I feel like that's the place most people would go to if suddenly all of the adults in the world have disappeared and you just get free reign of the mall. That would be awesome. And they have really great fun with it. But then they begin to realise that there are situations where they do need grown-ups. And they do need adults to help them with things that they can't do. And I won't say any more than that, but of course there is an important lesson there about the fact that if you are a young child or a preteen, I guess, or even a young teenager, adults can be annoying. I get it. I've been there. But at the same time, you can't exist in a world without them. We also have a bully. One of the characters is a bully. And there's a bit of a message in this about not treating people badly just because they are physically smaller than you are. And that actually you might have to get a taste of your own medicine one day. So treat people with kindness just because you might be physically bigger than they are. Which again is a really nice message. Now, I said there are no more adults or teenagers, but that's not strictly true. Christopher Lloyd's character, a character called Leo, is in this quite a bit, and they do throw the R word around in this film a couple of times, and I don't love it. They didn't necessarily throw it around as if it was perfectly fine to say, but I don't necessarily think it was needed. Leo is an adult with, I think the term they used was mental handicap at one point. They were looking up some medication and they were reading something on a screen, and I think it said mental handicap. I think that's the term they used. Now, I'll be honest, I love what he brought to it. I think the character was really great, really likeable, the performance was really good, but at the same time, I don't think I love the fact that they're saying he is basically a child in a fully grown man's body, because I think that's simplifying his condition. I'm not 100% sure what his condition was, but I feel like that's maybe simplifying it. I don't think it's maybe the most helpful perspective to think of somebody who has perhaps got an adult with some kind of learning disability to just think of them as being a child in an adult's body. I don't think that's a very helpful way of thinking about things, and that's clearly what the film is presenting. Am I thinking too deeply into it? Well, maybe not, because young viewers are impressionable, and if this film is suggesting that somebody who is maybe not mentally at the same level as most adults, then that means they're just a child. And I don't think that's a good way of looking at it, and I don't like the fact that the film seems to be suggesting that. But as I said, on the flip side, I do really like the character, and I do like what he brought to it. So on the one hand, I'm not complaining, but on the other, I don't think it was the right approach. If anybody has any strong opinions on that, I'd love to know what you think. I don't think we found out specifically what Leo's condition was, so it's not like they could say specifically somebody with such and such a condition is a child in an adult's body, but at the same time, I'm going on about this far too much. It's just something that struck me as, I was shocked, I'll be perfectly honest, that this was the route they decided to go down, because I hadn't expected it. But again, love what the character brought to it, so I do sound like a hypocrite. But that aside, I think everything worked really well. It's really interesting to have a film where pretty much all of the other characters are children. There are a couple of scenes with adults, of course. It starts off with adults, and I won't say how it concludes or anything, but I think it was a fun film, and I think enough time passed before the children started to realise that actually they do need grown-ups, they do need adults in the world, and then it wasn't just a case of going to the wishing glass and wishing for things to be reversed, because there are obstacles that they have to overcome there as well. So a well-written narrative, well-structured, really great pacing, great cast of characters, great performances, fun concept, and definitely one that, for the most part, I really thoroughly enjoyed. As I said, I'm not completely comfortable with what they kind of suggested with the character of Leo, but maybe I'm reading too much into it. That aside, Kids World is a pretty enjoyable film and one that I think is worth checking out.